Welcome to the Amateur Logic special IC-7610 preview here. Well, it's not actually a preview, it's here, so we're going to go in depth tonight. I'm George with Amateur Logic.
I'm Tommy with Amateur Logic.
And I'm Ray with Icom.
And Ray, why are you in the little box tonight? We were going to have you sitting right here beside us.
And I made the trip to Jackson, Mississippi to be there with you guys, but this morning started feeling something a little bit strange, so started running a little bit of a fever and picked up some meds and let you guys know that I might be coming down with the flu since my beautiful wife had the flu. And you guys booted me out of the clubhouse.
Well, we did.
Don't take it personal.
And we took your radios too. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But we're going to have fun going through these radios tonight. We're going to compare a little bit against the 7600 and then also show it in comparison to the 7300.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't even know where to start. We got so much to cover here.
Ray, this has been a much anticipated event. There's been so many people asking about it. When are we going to get with Ray and show the 7610? When are we going to show the 7610? So here it is.
Yeah, we had to. I was afraid that we were going to have to cancel this one, and I think we would have had a lynch mob after us if we did. So I'm glad that we were able to work this out and get these radios so we can show them. And I mean, let's take a look at the two radios together.
This one on the top is the IC-7610, the brand new software-defined radio. The one right below it is the IC-7600. This radio's been around for a while, and there's a lot of them out in the field. Is the 7610 going to beat it, Ray?
George, I don't think the 7600 is going to hold a candle to the 7610. There's been so many advances in the technology. We've taken bits and pieces from the 7851, 7800 series with the Digicel pre-selectors and combined it with the SDR technology that was introduced in the 7300. We've seen people compare it to the 7300 thinking, oh, it's just two of those in the box and trying to do early prognostication on the price. And people were a little surprised at where it came out because of those differences. But the Digicel pre-selector, when you get on 40 and 80 meters, even 160, you're going to see a big difference in handling interference and noise.
Well, they are... There's a lot of similarities between the two here. They're both physically the same size. The screens are very much similar there, but these two radios are completely different technology, huh?
Oh, yeah, they are. And actually, when you look at the screens between the two, we've got them where they're looking similar, but the live spectrum scope on the 7610 is where you can set it up to take a look at a few things differently. One of the things that we were talking about as we were setting up was the edge function, where you could toggle through three settings on your edges on your fixed scope.
Oh yeah, I see that. That's changing the width that we're watching.
Okay, cool.
So defaulted basically gives you the full bandwidth on 80, then your CW portion, and then your phone portion of it. But you can tailor to however you want it to look. And right now, I believe they're both set on the same bandwidth.
They are 3,500 to 4,000.
Now, you can get a different look from it as well if you collapse them. If you push the expand, go ahead and just tap it one time.
The expand? Nice. That looks like my 7700.
I like that.
I like to set it that way.
Now, here's one of the big differences between the two of them as well, is you've got dual watch in both radios. The 7600, the dual watch, is going to be two frequencies within the same band. And since you have multiple roofing filters in the 7600, they're both using the same IF strip. So what ends up happening is when you go too far off the center frequency of your main receiver and you have a narrow roofing filter, say the 3 kilohertz, once you get 2 kilohertz away from the center frequency, you start seeing attenuation of the second receiver. The 7600, you don't have that. They are 2 separate receivers, including the Digicel pre-selector.
So how would I enable the second receiver on here?
To the right of the screen, you'll see where it says Dual Watch.
Oh yeah.
If you push and hold it like you just did, it will put them both on the same frequency.
And you notice I've got the main and sub receivers set for different bands right now. And that's okay. You can listen to different bands at the same time with this rig, no problems. But there's a tracking function built in when you're in dual watch mode like this, and you've got 2 antennas connected. You can hear how each is performing. To do that, it'll put them on the same band. You select Menu, hold the tracking button to turn on tracking, and you know it's enabled because the blue LED next to the main sub indicator is flashing. Once you do that, just hit the main sub button, and now you'll notice that both sides are on the same frequency. By the way, you see as we change frequency on one VFO, it affects both of them. If you want to cancel that, then just press the main sub button again for 1 second, and you're back to 2 independent VFOs.
You can do a cool thing with it where you can put the 7610 to an external monitor using the DVI port.
Yeah, that's a great feature. Even though the screen is pretty nice size, bigger is always better, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's giant.
Yeah, that's giant. So even I can see that without my reading glasses on.
Yeah. Another piece of external hardware you can connect is a mouse. With the mouse, you can tune around really quickly on the display here. You see the pointer. Just point to a signal. Click on it. Brings you right to it. Or if you just want to temporarily listen to a signal, use the right mouse button. When you release it, it jumps back to the previous point.
Not to go off on a tangent, but one thing that jumps out at me really is how fast the refresh is on this compared to the 7600. Is there a setting to speed it up, or is that the difference in the radio?
It's a difference in the radio. It's the fastest speed on both of them, I believe.
Okay, well, that's got a really fast refresh rate.
And that has to do with the difference in the processors between the two.
What you would expect in, those
2
generations of radios this far apart. It's a software-defined radio, but just like the 7300 is, it looks just like a traditional radio, and it looks like it operates that way.
Much of your layout is exactly the same. If you look down the right-hand side, you got your twin passband tuning. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things with the twin passband tuning on the 7600, you have a separate button that you push to clear when you do the twin passband tuning.
Okay.
With the 7610, it is the knob itself.
So you just push in on the knob.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Cool.
And several of the knobs have that kind of functionality. Your volume controls for both receivers. You've got 2 controls since they're completely separate, where on the 7600, it was a balance control on which VFO was going to be louder than the other.
Okay, I see, and you just balance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't...
The 7610 is going to have one VFO in one ear and the other VFO in the other ear.
Okay, I haven't looked at the rear of it, but does that mean that there's 2 speaker jacks back there, or is it a stereo jack?
I believe it's 2 speaker jacks. We can look at the back of it a little bit later to go over that. Mm-hmm. But one of the real cool things with the 7610 now, you can have the main VFO knob adjust and both receivers track each other. And what's real nice about that is you can have a vertical antenna on one and a beverage antenna, or Yagi and a beverage, and get true receiver diversity and antenna diversity using the 2 VFOs.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Everything up here is touchscreen, and down here it's not happening for me.
No, sir.
Got a row of buttons over here, kind of the way some of the oscilloscopes are.
Yeah, well, it's the way my 7700 is too.
Oh, is it?
The buttons are down the side there.
Once you get accustomed to using a touch screen, it's difficult. You'd start punching on your radio to get that control that you had before.
Yeah, it's such an intuitive interface. Like even in the first ones that came out, my 7100, it's kind of, after using that, it's sort of hard to go back to using something with just knobs and buttons on it after you get used to it.
You know, both of these radios have a USB port on it where you could use a mouse with it, but this one has 2 USB ports. Why would that be, Ray?
Well, do you have my RC28 anywhere handy?
Yes, I do.
Now, right there, you see the RC28 is lit up. The left-hand button is indicating red.
Yep.
Go ahead and turn that knob.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, tap the other button. Be careful, Tommy. Don't tap too hard.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And so
for the contesters, you can have this sitting next to your keyboard and go and make an adjustment on the main or the sub VFO. And if you're in the phone contest, you got to push to talk there as well.
Yep. So, will the remote work with the 7600?
No, sir.
Okay. You know, we've seen this before, haven't we?
Yes, that was one of the options for the RSBA1 software. And again, another enhancement with the 7610 over the 7600. The RSBA1 software, the server, is built into the radio.
Oh.
And when we show the back of the radio a little bit later, you'll see an Ethernet jack on it. So the 7610 is like your 7700, George. It has the server built in. All you need is the client on a laptop, and then you got remote base operation from anywhere in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed that. Once they enabled that feature in the software on the 7700, I just plug an Ethernet cable into the back of the radio, and I don't have to have a computer sitting right there beside it to put it online.
Yeah, I remember that feature. That's nice.
It really is. And so you could take this with you and your laptop.
Yeah.
And you've got a physical knob
Yeah, work
to
HF
control
from
the radio remotely.
while I'm gone. That'd be
That's
awesome.
funny. We got a comment in the chat room that you could sneeze and make it transmit. Well, both the 7600 and the 7610 will do that.
They both have
Just
Vox
turn-
on.
Just turn Vox on and it'll transmit on any loud noise.
Yep. I saw someone in the chat room a moment ago saying, take my money, please. So
Well,
I know we've got at least one sale.
well, that's good. And while it has been in high demand and low supply, we're starting to get caught up with the back orders at the dealer level. So you should be able to find them pretty soon. The dealers have them in stock.
So I had noticed earlier someone posted in our Facebook group for Amateur Logic that he bought the last 7610 when he was in Orlando. I said there better be at least one more or there will be a lynching.
Yeah.
Because we've put off producing this video for a while now, and people were getting restless. And
Yeah, it's incredible the amount of people that have asked
a lot
us
of
when
interest.
we were going to show this.
George, when you had both the 7610 and the 7600 line stacked on top of each other, you kind of saw that everything was laid out the same on the radio. You pointed out the USB ports. We showed how the RC28 worked with the USB port. Let's look around that area of the radio. Now, we talked about it having dual watch and you having your left and your right receivers.
yes,
You have separate AF and RF squelch stacked one above the other for your main and secondary receivers.
Yeah, right here.
mm-hmm.
Kind of good thing you didn't, I think. it'd be kind of boring, I guess.
All right, just poke the volume knob.
That's what the government always does.
Oh,
So you've got a mute function on both of the receivers. You mentioned earlier about it being a touch screen. Go ahead and hit LSB.
okay, yeah, just like the other Icom radios with the touchscreen.
Yes, sir. You can go ahead and exit out of there. Go ahead and hit the megahertz.
Okay, so quick way to change bands.
Yes. And you can touch over on the second receiver.
Okay, that's how you do that. I was looking for a button a minute ago and didn't see it.
Well, you do have a button. You've got a main and sub button, and then you've got a change button that will flip the two.
I see. Yeah.
Well, that's for the scope. You were just changing between the main and the sub scope. But on the right above the tuning knob.
Change. Oh.
Now, as you're touching around for the scope, on the right-hand side, right next to expand set, you've got dual.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can bring up both band scopes. You can either have them side by side like that. Go ahead and push and hold the set mode.
Set mode.
On the touchscreen, sorry.
Expand set.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then you see dual scope type.
Well, yeah, I didn't need to do that. I just touch it.
Yes, sir. And you can put it over under.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And both of them remained fast, too.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Yes, they do. It doesn't slow it down. There's a lot of processing power in this radio. Now, you do have some secondary functions that are in the menu. So along the very bottom of the radio, left-hand side, you've got the menu button.
Yes.
And that's where you can bring up an audio scope. You can use your voice keyer. You can look at your different meters.
You've got a recorder. Does it take a memory card to record to?
Yes, sir. And it will record to the SD card. There should be one in there right now.
There is.
Sure is.
Go ahead and select antenna. This is very similar to your 7700.
Let's see.
And you can set up the defaults for what antenna you want to use for what band. So say you have a beverage antenna. On the back of the radio, there's a receive antenna input as well as output. If you want to have filtering built in line with it, or if you just want to put a beverage antenna, you can program here for it automatically to select the receive antenna when you go to that band. Or you can use the antenna button on the screen and toggle antenna 1, antenna 2, or push and hold to go to the receive antenna.
Yeah, I see. It's changing it.
Well,
right here. Or I can touch right here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Or down here, either way. Cool.
But if you don't have that antenna menu brought up, then you just touch the screen itself.
Now, how do I get back to where I was a moment ago?
Well, there's multiple ways that you could do it. You could go the long way by hitting menu and then scope, or you just push and hold the M scope button.
And I assume just like my 7700, I could have a band scope and then have the audio scope under it at the same time.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and hit menu. And go to audio.
Yeah, right there.
yeah, I like that. I used to like that when I had the 7300 at the house, playing around with that. It's a nice way to have it.
Go to the low end of the band down by the CW. No. You're going to take too long to do that. Touch the screen.
That's cheating, right?
No. The scope itself.
Oh, yeah.
Now zoom in. Touch where you want to, where it's zoomed in. Touch it again. And then you can fine tune with the knob.
Yeah, 7300 did that too. Similar. That's nice.
Digital.
That's your FT8.
Yeah. CW. Of course, I should probably turn off noise reduction.
Oh no, who wants to listen to that static? Go ahead and turn the noise reduction back on. But now, touch where it says level. I mean, your audio waveform's too big on the right-hand screen. There's a level button.
Okay.
And you can adjust the level on it. You can even set it to where you can read the code that's being set when you get it tuned in.
Oh, wow.
Now, one other thing that you could take a look at, go ahead and change the mode to CW, please.
Oh, you know,
you're used to your 7700.
I am.
All right, dial it in just a little bit more to CW signal.
Boy, that is really sharp.
Now, across the bottom, you'll see a button that's called Auto Tune.
Okay, put it right on it.
It'll zero beat you right on it. Go ahead and hit the level a couple of more times.
Okay.
And then change the time on it. A little bit more.
Oh.
I think there might be one more setting for the time where you can actually see the...
Oh.
So you're seeing the waveform of the signal that's coming in.
Yeah.
Now, one other... Well, you've got...
You're
turned on. You've got the APF turned on right now. You see on the far right-hand corner below the twin passband tuning?
Your mic is scratching again if you can move it.
All right, sorry.
And then just say that again.
On the right-hand side of the radio, right below the twin passband tuning, do you see the APF stroke TPF?
Right here. The light's on it.
Yes. And you've got the automatic peak filtering on CW. Go ahead and push it a couple of times till the APF goes off of the screen.
Okay.
Did it go off?
I don't
think it was.
Yeah, it's off. It's no longer
okay,
by the dual watch.
Yeah, I see it.
What that does is that puts an automatic peak filter for CW. If you're in RTTY mode, it will put in a twin peak filter. So for RTTY, you've got your mark in space, a filter just for that. And it helps you work those real weak signals. Now, in a crowded band, the APF allows you to put additional filtering. It starts out, the narrow is 80 hertz wide, mid is 160 hertz wide, and wide is 320 hertz wide. So you could be using a 250 hertz filter, or go a little bit wider and use a 500 hertz filter, and then use the APF. And then that's adjustable by using the one button that we haven't talked about yet, the multi button.
Okay, I saw that button. I was wondering.
And you can move that APF to pick out different signals that are jam-packed close to each other. If you were to touch that Digicel icon, you'll turn it on.
Oh.
Cleans it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you'll notice on the left-hand side of the radio, the preamp is turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And it will now tell you that the Digicel is turned on.
Okay.
This becomes very important when you're on 40, 80, and 160. Those are the bands you really don't run with the preamp on anyway.
Yeah.
And the Digicel is a tunable pre-selector. Now, this is where you look at the other SDR radio we have, the 7300. 7300 really has no protection on the ADC, the analog to digital converter.
Yep.
This Digicel is a window, a tunable window that you can move around to pick out your weaker signals with. And it keeps the ADC from being overloaded.
Cool.
Now you can go ahead and turn that off.
Okay.
And we'll have a little bit of fun. Go ahead and hit your filter button to the wide filter.
Right here.
Your filter's underneath your twin passband tuning.
Yeah.
There you go.
Am I on wide? Where's it?
Hit it again. Well,
There
yeah,
you go.
you're not
1.2.
centered, though.
The reason that it's offset like that is we're now using a sideband filter.
Okay.
And we use lower sideband. So you'll see the filter shifted
Mm-hmm.
on the radio. Now, go ahead and push and hold the filter button.
Yep.
Just like what you're used to, you can either set it up for soft or sharp. But hit the BW button, and then you can change the bandwidth. And you'll notice as soon as you drop below 600 hertz, it's going to shift that filter right into the center.
Yep.
Sure did.
And it changed the shape form from being soft to sharp. You're now using the CW filters instead of the sideband filters.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, that's something that's been around for years. I mean, the 7600, you'd see that exact same thing happen. And your 7700 as well.
Yeah.
But go ahead and hit the default for that, because I want to show you a little bit about it.
Okay.
Did it go back to the...
No, it
It
didn't.
didn't look like it changed.
Oh, hit the BW again. Push and hold it.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Yep. That works just like any of the other Icom radios.
Yes, sir. And you can use that as on the fly to narrow down, use it to IF shift. But go ahead and turn the noise reduction off as well. And we'll probably have to tune a little bit down in the CW portion of the band. And go ahead and turn off the APF as well, please.
Where do I do that?
That,
Oh, yeah.
that one's got the button on the right-hand side.
Oh, yeah.
Go to where you have a bunch of signals close by. There you go.
Here we go. We got two of them beating against each other.
Turn your APF on at this point.
I got it. I'm in charge of the APF button over here.
I don't hear either one of them now.
Filter.
The APF tightens up the filtering on it, so they might be outside that passband. Then you can use a tuning knob to get right on top of it.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
okay, go ahead and turn the APF back off again.
There's several in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Now you can use the APF again. Well, that signal just went away.
Use the APF.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot I was in charge.
Oh,
of
and
that.
now it's just one signal. And the guy answering it.
Yep.
The audio processing in these things is just incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just amazing.
And that's without the noise reduction. Now, one thing I do notice is that the RF squelch isn't at 12 o'clock.
Right.
Go ahead and turn it to 12 o'clock. You'll see the RFG goes away on the screen right above the transmit symbol. That lets you know that you've adjusted your RF gain.
Okay.
Now tell me if you want to turn off the APF again, please.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. There's multiple signals right there.
And then go ahead and just hit the noise reduction and listen to how quiet the receiver gets.
Oh, wow.
Really quietens down.
Yeah, that just changes the whole listening experience.
And
You listen to that.
Why you have those tools in this, like a 7600, with it all being done in the SDR, you have no internal phase noise. And we have stuck with the design that we introduced with the 7800, which is an image rejection mixer. And in one of my tests with the 7610, I got to spend some time with Dr. Rody from Rody Schwartz. And he said one of the great things about the image rejection mixer is its ability to cover a wide RF spectrum. The downfall is you have to have internal amplification because of the loss of the design.
Yeah.
With it being done in the FPGA, it's all done mathematically. So there is no insertion loss in the design.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's right.
So you don't have the phase noise that will come in. You also don't have the amplification that you need to bring your signal level back up. So with it being done inside the FPGA, you've got a lot more power available to you. And there again, you've got two completely separate receivers.
All the audio processing on here, I've said it before about a few minutes ago, but it just makes the listening so much more enjoyable when you get out and spend your radio time.
That first rig that you owned with a Brand X transceiver, you can.
It wore me down listening to it for very long.
You just couldn't hang with it.
It really did, and it kind of for a long time it just kind of wears you down, gives you a headache almost.
Yeah.
But listening to that, you can listen to that a long time.
I would say especially doing contests or special events, things like that. Something like this really.
Oh yeah. This is just made for it, man. It's just perfect.
Now, a couple other things when comparing it to the 7300. In the 7610, we use two 16-bit analog to digital converters. In the 7300, we use the 14-bit. And the extra 2 bits do a lot to help for a weak signal.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then on the transmit side, we use a 14-bit DAC, digital to analog, and the 7300 uses a 12-bit. So there again, the signal is the 7300's got a very clean signal. The 7610 is real close to what we see with the 7851.
Someone listening to your signal might actually hear a better signal coming from this rig than a lesser rig.
Yeah, they will, and you'll hear when you've got multiple radios in the same environment on different bands, you'll see less interference as well.
Yeah. I would say for digital modes, that would probably could make the difference sometime between being decoded and not.
One of the other items is for the clock circuit for the ADC and the DACs. That's going to be your principal area for phase noise in the receiver. And there is a new clock circuit that was designed just for this radio to reduce the phase noise to as minimal as possible.
Cool.
And that's giving us it's a new term that's been out that people are using on measuring their radios, and it's reciprocal mixing dynamic range.
Yeah, I've seen that term. What does that really mean?
The RMDR is the measuring of a receiver's phase noise and the dynamic range of multiple signals coming into it. And this one has an RDMR of 110 dB. The 7851 has 116.
At several times the price.
at several times the price. But the customer base that is looking at the 7851 has got a lot of aluminum in the air. They've got a lot of other radios in the same shack. I've got a friend of mine who's down in the Caribbean this weekend for the contest, and he said he could definitely just tell a difference between the 7851 that he used down there last year and the 7610. The 7851 had a crisper sounding CW signal than the 7610.
Yeah.
But there again is the filter network and everything that he took down there with him. He's probably going to win the WRTC 2018 in Germany in July. He and his partner, and they're at the top level of the game.
Yeah, so
you're talking about somebody that's done over 10,000 Qs in a 48-hour period.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine that.
It's almost like our field day.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Now there's a video on YouTube of N6MJ operating two transceivers, two 7851s, and he's got a run rate of almost 200 Qs an hour on 40 as well as 20 at the same time.
At the same time?
At the same time.
I just couldn't even imagine.
No. On my 7700, it's got decode, and encode as well. I can operate PSK31 already with just plugging a keyboard in to the rig and operating.
Yes, sir.
Does this one have that type of capability on any modes?
Yeah, on PSK31 and RTTY.
Okay.
So it does have that capability.
And you could decode it right on the screen there and
yes, sir.
Not need a computer to work either
cool.
one of those.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And there's been questions on why not other modes, and it's tough to chase the latest craze.
Yeah.
I mean, during the development of this product, in between showing it for the first time at Hamvention, FT8 came up, and now is a very popular mode. And with this radio, FT8, it's very simple. You use the USB port on the back of it. There's two of them. One of them is a USB 3. That is for future development. But the USB 2 port, download the drivers. It'll give you your sound card as well as your rig control.
But with this being a true SDR, the ball game could change down the road. I mean,
it could if they looked at going down that path to develop the other modes or other digital modes in the radio.
I got an email here that you forwarded to me from Adam. Have we covered the points that were on there?
Yes, sir. We covered most of them now. Adam has been a tremendous find and has become a real good friend over the past 15 years. Adam's retired from Raycal, where he worked in South Africa, and his passion is testing receivers. He has thoroughly gone through the 7610 and just about every test out there, whether and Rob Sherwood has tested it as well. It's already been on his list, and I can't remember where it's sitting on his list, but between he and Adam, there are some real thorough specification tests that have been done to the radio. Don't know where it is on the ARRL's schedule for testing, but I would say that it's going to be pretty soon.
Yeah. So with all the hype and questions that have been going on with this radio for, I guess, well over a year now, we'll be seeing some reviews from the major folks.
Oh, yeah. The ones that are besides Adam and Rob Sherwood, the other ones to really look for is from the ARRL as well as from the DARC. They do a real thorough examination of the radio as well.
Maybe we ought to take a few questions out of the chat room here.
There's a couple that I've seen go by, George. The question about the 7100 and the 7300 about FT8. Ever since the 7600 came out, if there's a USB, whether it's a USB-B or a USB mini, there's a sound card built into the radio. Our current production, the 7200, 7300, 7100, 7610, 7851, all have sound cards built in that you access using the USB port.
Something we have not looked at is the rear of the radio.
That's true. There it is.
Yeah. Let's turn it around here, Tommy, and where we can get it on this close-up camera. There's a number of connectors on the back of this rig.
I'll say.
Yes, sir.
We got the power. Of course, that's a standard Icom style connector there. Standard tuner connector there as well.
Yep.
So it'll work with any Icom tuner that you may have already had. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But is there a tuner already built into this radio?
Auto tuner?
There is an auto tuner built in. All of our radios that are, well, I shouldn't say all of the radios, but the 100-watt radios will have that 4-pin tuner to go with the AH2. Some people use the Marine version, the AT130. But the 7610 has an internal antenna tuner that we spec at 3-to-1. Very similar to the 7300, you can go into emergency mode, which drops the radio down to 50 watts, and it can handle up to a 10-to-1 SWR.
Okay. Now, there's 4 BNC connectors up under here. RX antenna in and out.
The in and out allows you to use a filter network, so if you're using a coax-fed antenna system, this will be in line with those jacks. Then you also have your transverter, as well as your reference in. Your reference in will be a 10 megahertz time base. Of course, on the back, you got the fan, your trusty ground lug.
Yep, got to have one of those.
We're going to go into any in-depth discussions about that?
No, we don't talk about grounds other than, all radios have got a ground lug on them.
Yeah.
Well,
all the good ones.
All the good ones. And this one is chrome plated.
Yeah. Next topic.
Now, straight below that, you've got the remote jack. That is a CI5 remote. That is useful if you've got multiple Icom devices that are CI5 controllable.
Yep.
We do not recommend that being your computer interface portal. Use the USB port to do that.
Yeah, over there.
So if you've got a PW1, your USB, then the remote to the PW1 so it can follow.
Yeah. Meter. What is?
It's got the voltage output, so if you want to build your own external meter, you can do so and have a swinging needle if you want.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
External keypad.
External keypad, I believe that's for your memory keys. I'm not really sure what that external keypad connection is.
And, of course, a standard key.
Right. That one is for a straight key or from a computer key. That is not for an iambic type key paddle. The iambic type will plug into the front of the radio.
Okay.
And 2 accessory ports here.
Yeah.
We've stuck with a standard 7 and 8 pin accessory port that we have on the larger radios. Looking at the 7300, that does not have the 2. It has a single 13 pin. Then for your amplifiers, you got your ALC as well as your send or your key line.
Yeah.
Your 2 external speakers, you were asking earlier if you had only one that was stereo or 2 separate.
Okay, so you do have 2. And of course, 2 antenna jacks, so we talked about that earlier.
And no display.
Yep. And of course, the USB. What all can you do with USB? Is there 2 different USBs here?
Well, that's blue. That's going to be USB 3.
Right now, that has not been defined. I've seen people that have been trying to hack it to see what they can do with it. Don't recommend doing that. You don't want to take a chance of bricking your radio, but that will be for other scope developments and possibly IQ output.
Okay. Well, that'd be nice.
Mhm.
Can you do? Do you
Nope.
know? Can you do IQ outputs with the standard USB port there yet?
I haven't seen the firmware released yet to do that.
Okay. And of course, the DVI connector here. Tommy and I plugged a monitor in there, an external monitor. A while
Yeah,
ago.
it looked nice.
Yeah.
Now, one thing with the monitor, there's been questions and speculation about using a touchscreen external monitor.
No, it doesn't do that, does it?
No, it does not, and I do not see a firmware coming down the pipe to support that because the new touchscreen monitors are a multi-touch format. You
Yeah.
need to load the driver somehow, and I don't think the OS of the radio will support a multi-touch
Yeah.
type monitor.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Windows loaded into a radio.
And this is one of my favorite ports right here that, well, most radios probably don't have.
Yeah, that changes things a lot right there.
There are a couple of Icoms that do have the LAN port. This is the first time in this price point radio that we have had the LAN port. And what that does is that puts your RSB, allows you to do remote control of the radio using the RSBA software.
Mm-hmm.
The RSBA1 software, if you're using it with a 7600 or a 7300, you need a separate computer
Right.
and then go through the USB port of the radio. There again, to build a server, build a processor, and everything to be able to handle that inside the radio is going to be an additional cost to it.
Yep.
And this type of radio is a type that you really would want to have on a nice antenna and operate remote with.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody, and unfortunately, I'm not there with my Dell, but I've got a Dell tablet that allows me to control the radio just like a small iPad. And with all the Windows Surface tablets, you can load the RSBA1 software on that as well and control the radio.
I noticed John asked over in the chat room there, he was late getting in here in the live stream. He wants to know how tight can the CW filter go, and I think we talked about that earlier, didn't we?
You dialed in a 50 hertz CW filter,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in addition to the automatic peak filter.
Yep. How well will it handle heavy duty modes, and does it have a general coverage receiver?
Yes, it does have a general coverage receiver, and the radio is rated at 100% duty cycle.
Does it decode modes? Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Emil. It covers PSK31 and RIDI currently.
Yes. There is a question about fan noise. Have you guys noticed the fan?
I only noticed it when we turned the radio around and just for a second right there, but I could just barely hear it.
Yeah.
It wasn't loud at all.
No, we haven't noticed the fan at all till we turned it around.
When it was in front of me, I never heard it, not one time.
But no, we haven't transmitted with it, so I don't,
But it was spinning a little bit earlier.
Oh, it's not spinning at all now, is it?
Not now.
It will kick on in receive mode. I noticed at my house that the PS126 is louder than the 7610.
Yeah, and KK6 YLW said if you want to do more modes than RIDI or PSK, for decoding, you just use the USB port there and whatever software you want.
Yeah, and like with these, and like you said, most of the current Icom radios, it's so nice not to have to worry about an interface or hooking up to your sound card and all that stuff.
Just plug it in and it looks like an audio device on a Windows box.
Yeah, it works great.
Yeah. Do you know?
Just download the drivers first. Don't try to let Microsoft do a plug and play.
Yeah. Put the drivers on before you plug the radio in the first time.
Yes.
Do you know if there will, and because somebody's going to ask, so I will now, do you know if there'll be Linux drivers or software at any point?
As far as the drivers, it's going to be, I think we're using Silicon Labs UART chips, so it's really going to be if Silicon Labs produces.
That's how I got this stuff to work with my Mac.
Yeah.
I downloaded the Silicon Labs driver. That's how I got
Okay.
all the digital modes to work
Well,
on the
that's
Mac.
cool. I didn't realize that.
It was on our show.
You
You should watch it sometime.
Which one? Yeah, first 100 or so, they kind of
You kind of run
run
together.
together a little, yeah. Is there a built-in web type interface via the Ethernet port for listening over the LAN, or do you have to use the RSBA1 software? I think,
You have to use the RSBA1 software.
yeah. Is there a bigger speaker in this rig than normal, Ray? Because it really had rich sounding
Yeah,
audio.
it had a nice tone.
Yeah.
Well, it does take from what we did in the 7800 and 7700, where you have a speaker with its own enclosure instead of using the cabinet to do that. So that is a difference on that as well.
Well, it was noticeable. I mean, I was looking around to see if we had plugged in an external speaker. I mean, it was that big a difference from what I'm used to hearing coming out of a stock radio
it sounded
speaker.
good.
Well, Ray, we appreciate you joining us tonight, despite the sudden onset of the flu there. And Tommy and I are really going to enjoy this radio here.
We really appreciate you dropping this off and
I know where you live.
Yeah.
73.
73, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, sing the theme song.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Go, Ray. We got Rockin' Ray here. I don't have to sing this time.
Boy, you know, the DSP filters are so good on this rig, it just sucked your singing right out of the air.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear a thing.
That's good.
Yeah.